Hi, and welcome to the Midweek Connection for Strawbridge United Methodist. My name is Josh Hale, and I'm one of the pastors at Strawbridge, and it's a great pleasure to be with you all today for the Midweek Connection. The prophet Jeremiah in chapter 6 records a word from the Lord. He says, "Stand at the crossroads and look, and ask for the ancient pathways, where the good way lies, and walk in it, and find rest for your souls." Sometimes there's wisdom in these ancient pathways and ways of life that go almost neglected. They get overgrown. They end up full of weeds. They are no longer remembered that there was even a way through the wilderness in that place. But nonetheless, if we pay attention, if we inquire carefully, then we can find not only a way that nobody else knew, but maybe even a way into something that we desperately need and don't know that we need it. Christians for a long time have had to deal with things like a rapidly changing society, or discovering that institutions which we thought were looking out for our best interests sometimes actually don't and have their own ends in mind. Sometimes we might even fear that churches have lost their way. They've watered down something really important about the gospel, or exchanged what should be a strong meal instead for a thin, weak oatmeal or gruel. Do we ever harbor a skepticism that churches and communities no longer are doing what they need to in order to provide what they've always provided to people, a base and a foundation for us to build a healthy faith and life on top of? Are you searching for a way to deepen faith, to build a good life, but that in a way that's not tied to getting marching orders and being forced to march to the beat of one single solitary drum? If this sounds familiar to you, it sounds familiar to me too. It seems like a lot of our life right now is asking these kinds of questions, and really Christians for centuries, if not most of our 2,000-year history, have asked these very questions about the way that our lives are and the way that our churches are, and Christians have found some answers that I think are helpful. Some of these Christians sound strange to us. They come from a different time and a different place, and I like to learn from a group that are called Desert Fathers and Mothers, the Abbas and the Ammas, that lived about 1,400, 1,500, maybe even 1,600 years ago out in the deserts on the fringe of the collapsing Roman Empire. My friend Abba Moses over here has a lot of wisdom to share, and so do a lot of his colleagues that lived in the wilderness and that people made really kind of treacherous or dangerous journeys to go learn from the wisdom that they had, built up by lives of solitude and silence, of prayer and of generosity, of dealing with their own demons, and of mentoring others how to deal with theirs. So for a couple weeks this summer, I'm going to be offering just a simple Bible study on Wednesday nights at 6:30. I'm calling it maybe a summer in the Spirit. And we're going to be looking for practical wisdom from these desert ancestors to help us learn how to navigate, as we've talked about several times this year already, and find peace in chaos, and how to live in the world that God has given us. There's a lot of wisdom that we can learn, and I would love to do that with some of y'all over the summer. So you're not doing anything in the middle of the week, come on up to the church in the evening on Wednesdays. It's going to start Wednesday, June the 10th, which is next week, and we'll run for about 5 weeks into early July as we learn from all sorts of ancient voices that have something to teach us about our lives for today. I hope you'll come join me, because I do think this will be something that will bear a lot of fruit, will help us find some really rich and deep roots, and help us bear fruitful lives even when it seems like the rest of the world is trying to fight against that. So I hope to see you on Wednesday nights. Also hope to see you this upcoming Sunday, where we're continuing our series called Preach, Pray, or Die, with different preachers from the Strawbridge family of faith that are going to tell us about what the sermon that they can pull out at a moment's notice might look like. And so we hope to see you as we continue that series as well this Sunday. But in the meantime, God bless, have a great week, and keep the peace.
Cut! That was fabulous.